What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God. Hey, and we are back at it again today with another video, another reaction stream. Today we will be reacting to popular One Piece YouTuber Brago D Ace. I've been following him for a minute as well. The title to this video is "Did We Overestimate the Yonko?" Those that might be a controversial question to ask, honestly. But yeah, but before we get into that, make sure you hit that like button, show your boy some love, and subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. I currently have a giveaway going on right now. Details will be coming to this Sunday's live stream, for live chapter stream. I'm gonna be giving those details in the middle of that, somewhere in the middle of that stream though. So y'all gotta watch the stream. Y'all gonna have to watch the stream, as well as make sure you follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Everything will be linked in the description, as well as the One Piece Facebook group and the One Piece Discord if you are looking to be a part of a One Piece community. You know, we're still growing, y'all. We're still growing. So yeah, that's that. As far as today's video from Brago D Ace, now the question is, are the Yonko overestimated? Or have we been overestimating the Yonko? I already kind of have an answer to that. I haven't watched the video yet, so I don't know his points. Maybe he might come up with some decent points to change my mind, but I don't think so. I think what we've been seeing up to this point is more so it more so has to do with the growth of the supernova, right? Like at the end of the day, it's a story, right? It's a story, and the main characters, the good guys, they have to overcome the bad guys or the enemies. The protagonists have to overcome the antagonists, right? And in this arc, we got Luffy, Kid, and Law. They're kind of the protagonists of the arc, as well as the Straw Hats, as well as the Samurai Mink Pirate Alliance, as well as that. They're the protagonists, so they're, by story design, they're meant to win. So in some way, we gotta see Luffy, we gotta see Law, we gotta see Kid. We have to see them overcome these Yonko, right? Maybe not. Maybe Oda might make it to where they still don't win. I don't know. You know, honestly, I kind of like that direction more than the standard good guy wins in the end trope that we see in, you know, every anime or movie or cartoon show. You know, so I would, me personally, I would like to see Kaido win in the end of this arc, and maybe he loses later down the line. But again, that's my personal, my personal ask, I guess. But as far as overrated, I can't really say. I think maybe to some degree, maybe they could be overrated. You know, like there's some people who act like they cannot be defeated. You know, but which I do look at them as the highest tier, right? But at the same time, I can't say they can't be defeated. Like Kaido, for example, he can be defeated. You know, he's been defeated. That's already pretty much been established. He has been defeated before. Not many times though, So there's a short list of people who have defeated Kaido. And I think, and again, that might have been when Kaido was still growing strength wise. Maybe Kaido wasn't the same Kaido he is today. Like right now he might be at his strongest, and it may have been a while since he lost. And even then, the myth, the legend of Kaido is, if it's a one-on-one battle, always bet on Kaido. So it's not that he can't lose, it's just he hardly loses in a 1v1 fight, right? Like he's lost, and we don't even really know the full aspects of how he lost, right? And then we got Big Mom. I think Big Mom is beatable more than some people think. It just again like it just takes a certain level of strength in order to beat somebody of Big Mom's caliber, as well as Shanks, as well as Blackbeard at this point. It just takes strong individuals, and it might depend on the matchup. It might depend on the scenario. Things like that. Things like that matter in fights. The scenario. What factors are you fighting under, right? Like when we look at Wano, the Wano country, and we take Luffy and Kaido for example. Luffy, or I'm sorry, Kaido has been fighting. He's fought the Red Scabbards, right? He's fought them, and you know he was tanking a lot of damage that they did, but nonetheless, it still affected him, and it still compiles on to the damage that he has now while fighting Luffy, right? So the fact that he was fighting before Luffy, he's already been he's already been worn down little by little before we get to this 1v1 versus Luffy. Now, if it was Kaido and Luffy and they were both fresh, now that would be, that would be a different scenario that we would get. Could Luffy beat Kaido in that specific scenario? And then you can also look at that as Law and Kid versus Big Mom, right? Like it's two Supernova fighting one Yonko, So in a case like this, the two Supernova have a better chance. The fact that it's two of them and it's only one of Big Mom fighting, right? So it's all depending on scenario. It's all depending on matchups as well. Because we see Enel versus Luffy, for example. Enel at that point was stronger than Luffy. I would beg to guess that he was strong, more powerful than Luffy. If Luffy wasn't a rubber man, I think Luffy probably would have lost very quick in that fight. So, it depends on different factors, and a lot of people tend not to look at other factors of why such and such may be winning, and whatnot. A lot of people they don't look at the nuances to fights and whatever. But we're gonna see what Brago says, what his reasoning is, because for him, the title could just be a clickbait. I get it as a YouTuber. The title is a clickbait. He may not necessarily think they're overrated. Maybe he's been in conversations where people said they were overrated, and he's just kind of using this talking point, that talking point as a title for clickbait, just so he could, in a sense, maybe tear that argument apart. I don't know. But I don't think they're overrated. I think they're rated just fine. We got Cube in the building. He said, I feel that people overestimated the Yonkos and really underestimated the worst generation. Because I'm probably one of those people. But I have a reason for it. And it's not that I underestimate them. It's just like okay. I'm going to give you my scenario, for example. Luffy, right? Luffy, I will argue that Luffy is probably the strongest of the worst generation. He's the most battle tested, but at the same time, he's the only one that we've seen consistently. So it's a lot easier to say that. It's kind of like when people use the word recency bias, like when you see a new TV show and it's like the best show ever, but you're only really saying that because it's recent. With Luffy, it's this bias that we see him consistently. So we kind of see what he can do compared to the other Supernova. So we automatically put him ahead of them because we don't see what the Supernova does. But even then, from what we have seen from the Supernova, Luffy has probably proven to be the most successful and have accomplished the most, and he's beaten probably the most notable people in the world. So I think by that, you kind of have to give him the edge over other uh, other supernova. Now, my problem always been with, not my problem more so, but why I always kind of looked at Yonko. There's always been a huge gap, right? And it's mostly because of the last arc, right? We had Whole Cake Island. So during Whole Cake Island, we seen Luffy fight Yonko Commander. You know, like Yonko Commanders. Those were pretty much his fights during that arc. Were against the Yonko Commander. He fought Cracker. He had a hard time against Cracker. Cracker was the third commander at that, right? Third commander. He had a hard time with Cracker. I would even venture to say he has an asterisk in that win because he had Nami's help that whole time. Nami pretty much was helping him eat. You know, she was softening the Cracker soldiers, and Luffy would eat them. And then Luffy eventually was able to overcome it, and you know he gave us a new transformation, a new Gear 4 transformation, and he eventually overcome it. But he probably would have lost if Nami wasn't there. And then you fast forward to Katakuri, and it's like a lot of people don't even believe he should have won that fight, honestly. And he probably shouldn't. He ran away a lot of the time, you know. So it took to the end of the fight for him to actually start, you know, his future sight hockey starting to bloom, and for him to pull out a new transformation in order to beat Katakuri. And even then, that was still very questionable. So for him to have barely been able to beat a commander, right, the top level commander, for him to barely be at a point where he could just defeat, like he that wasn't a debatable, or that wasn't like a definite win. That was kind of like he squeaked by, and that was probably, some of it was, I look at it as Katakuri kind of gave him that win. And then you look at an arc later where he's now fighting actual Yonko. You know, like I still haven't seen him like non-debatably beat a Yonko commander. But now, you know, like for me to believe now he just should beat a Yonko, to me it's just now story wise I get it. He's probably going to beat Kaido. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But to me, that whole progression is just not realistic, is what I'm saying. It's not realistic for him to an arc ago have trouble with a Yonko commander, and then now him for sure beat a Yonko. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be for sure because again, Kaido has went through a lot of stuff, you know. But that's kind of my point to your last statement, talking about underestimating the worst generation and overestimating Yonko. I've never underestimated the worst generation. I just go by what I've seen from them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going by what I've seen from Luffy arc ago, and that's kind of how I measure how he should do against Kaido. You know, I know he had a little training too, but still. You say I'm guilty of underestimating Kid. I mean, again, like I didn't underestimate him because I didn't know what he could do. You know, I try not to sit here and say somebody's the strongest when I don't even really know what they can do. Like, I have nothing to go off of. Like, for example, Shanks, right? To me, people overestimate Shanks. They overrate Shanks because based off of little things like him showing up in Marineford and supposedly stopping the war, which again, you got to look at the nuances here. You got to look at the story. The Navy, the Marines have pretty much just finished a battle with another Yonko that took them to the limit, right? So now you got another Yonko showing up. Another Yonko, another Whitebeard level character with a Whitebeard level crew, you know, showing up like, hey, we here, stop this fight, or y'all gonna have to fight us. It would have like if I was in Sengoku's shoes, doesn't matter if it was Big Mom that showed up. It doesn't matter if it was Kaido that showed up. It doesn't matter if it was Rayleigh with like his own little crew of pretty strong individuals showed up and they was like, hey, y'all want to fight us? I would have been like, no, we just finished fighting this war. My guys are weak. My admirals have been just putting in a bunch of work. My strongest guys are tired. To me, it would have been stupid to continue fighting. You know what I mean? So, me personally, looking at it from that view, I can't really give Shanks as much credit as a lot of people like to give him. Like I need to see Shanks fight. Like, I mean, I know his hockey is pretty strong from that clash with Whitebeard. You know what I'm saying? When he went on Whitebeard's ship. And I mean, I know that Shanks is clearly on par with Kaido, Whitebeard, Big Mom. I know he's on par. Like he's in that zone. But giving him saying he's the strongest character, I haven't seen anything. Me personally, I haven't seen anything for me to just put him up there. You know what I mean? And that's one moment when I say like I need to see something from people. Like now I'll take a character like Kizaru. We seen stuff from Kizaru. I've seen how he fought the supernova and toyed with him pretty much and pretty much almost killed the Straw Hats. And then I seen how he was toying with Whitebeard in Marineford. And then I seen how when Ben Backman showed up, how he was still pretty nonchalant about it. A lot of people like to say Kizaru was scared, but I'm like, Kizaru had the same attitude, the same voice inflection, the same demeanor, all those things. He had the same thing as when he fought the supernova. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of, from what I've seen from Kizaru, he still has a side that we haven't seen from him yet. But I don't know. I wouldn't say Kizaru is stronger than Kaido though. I haven't seen anything from Kizaru to prove that he could beat Kaido or Shanks or Big Mom or what I'm saying. I just think he's stronger than what most people believe he is. But yeah, again, I don't over or underestimate characters until I really see even just maybe an inkling of what they could do. You know what I mean? And that's my point, as far as underestimating Kid. I never really underestimated him because I just didn't know what he could do. I knew he was somewhere roughly around Luffy's level, Luffy and Law's level. Whether he was stronger than Law, weaker than Luffy, stronger than Luffy, I didn't know until now. But yeah. I mean, I guess I can see why you underestimate. I don't get why you underestimate him if we didn't see anything though. Because you're just kind of taking like when people do that, like when people underestimate somebody we haven't seen, it's just like you just kind of creating stuff in your head, like theories in your head, like, oh, he's not strong because of whatever reason. Like you're not basing it on anything substantial. You know what I'm saying? And I like when I base things, when I come up with theories or when I'm comparing people, I try to look at things like feats and character portrayal to a degree. A lot of people take character portrayal and use that as the end all be all, but character portrayal to a degree, but I mostly look at feats. Like, what have you actually done in the story? Once you get some feats, then I might start actually measuring where I will put you. And then, even then, I can only measure you so much as a character. I got to see you really do more, But, yeah, I talked enough. Let's get into this actual video. The link to this video will be in the description box. So, guys, make sure you go to his channel. I gotta make sure it's right because I don't know if it's right for sure. That link that I put, I don't know if I updated it or if it's like one of the last streams I did. But I gotta make sure it's the right one. So y'all go to his channel, like the video if you like it. Maybe subscribe if you aren't already subscribed to his channel and you like his stuff. Cube said, because I didn't see enough feats, but since we didn't have much on Kid, I didn't have high hopes. Yeah, see, what you said, I think that is a very unfair assessment to make on somebody. To to not have how to not have any type of hopes for him just because you haven't seen him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, I'll measure them based off of like some hype to a degree. Like the fact that Kid is part of the Supernova, he's almost like portrayed to be up there with Luffy and Law. I give him a baseline to where he's like he's at least as strong as he's at least around their level. He's at least near Luffy and Law's strength. He might be the weakest one. He might be in the middle. He may be the strongest. I mean, before we start seeing Kid's feet, this is kind of what I went from, but like what I base Kid off of. But to say like I don't think he's strong because I haven't seen anything from him. To me, that's kind of I'm gonna be real with you. That's kind of a weak assessment of a character to kind of blow him off because you haven't seen anything from him. Like look at Weevil for example, right? Let's take Weevil. Like Weevil, I don't know how strong he is. I can't even tell you. I'm not gonna say he's weaker than certain people or stronger than certain people. We haven't seen anything from him. I think it would be unfair. It would be unfair to rank him because then I don't know if I'm ranking him too high or too low. So I just think it's kind of weak to make an assessment and say, okay, you're not that character is the strongest character, even though I didn't see anything from him, or he's the weakest character, even though I didn't see anything from him. Not saying you went that far. I'm not saying you went that far. I'm just saying, like, to try to put them in a certain category, like a certain level, and we haven't seen them yet. I'm personally not a fan of that type of. You said, oh no, I mean, when I saw him face Big Mom, I just thought it wouldn't be possible after knowing he lost to Kaido and Shanks. It wouldn't be possible for what? For him to beat Big Mom? Because it's not like he's fighting Big Mom alone. I mean, I don't think he would be able to beat Big Mom by himself either. I don't think Law or Luffy would be able to beat him up, you know. So I'm just saying, like, I don't like what do you think it wouldn't have been possible for him to give Big Mom this much trouble? I mean, he has Law's help though, you know, like, and Law also has they're helping each other defeat Big Mama. Like, I'm kind of lost to, you know, what you're saying, you know, because it's not like it was him and Law versus Shanks, you know, or him and Law versus Kaido. It was him those times by himself, and you also got to look at it. He probably got a little stronger since fighting them. You know, characters get stronger, you know, without us seeing them get stronger. But yeah, let's get into this video. I kind of been all right. You say, yeah, I just thought he'd back up Law instead of trying to take the lead. I mean, again, like, you also gotta look at it like this. He might have looked bad again, or we didn't even see how it was against him and Shanks and him and Kaido. You know, we didn't really see much of that. But you got to look at it like, if you're going to put him losing the arm to Shanks and him getting beat by Kaido, if you're going to knock that against him, you also have to look at Luffy and Katakuri, right? Luffy he barely beat a character who wasn't as strong as Big Mom or Kaido or Shanks, you know, and that was an arc ago. You know what I'm saying? But now he's holding his own against Kaido, so it's like if you're gonna use that as a knock against Kid, why he shouldn't be able to do what he's doing at this moment, you should also look at it as Luffy shouldn't be doing what he's doing against Kaido when the arc ago he was having trouble with Cracker and Katakuri. You know what I'm saying? It says such the lack of feats. I just was more hype about Law than Kid. Yeah. Hence, and but you're playing to my point though. You're using the fact that you seen more of Law as a reason to automatically just put Law over Kid. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's like that when I was talking about recency bias, you're pretty much putting Law over Kid because you've seen more of Law and you didn't see enough of Kid, which again is what I said. That's kind of unfair to do to Kid. You know, like like Oda isn't gonna, Oda's gonna wait to give you the full range of a character until he, like, as far as fighting wise, he's going to wait to give you the full range of the character until it's time for him to show out, right? And this is Kid's time, Wino was already kind of being built to being a arc that was going to be to showcase Kid, from the time that Kid pretty much got captured, right? So, but let's continue. You said I'm on your side, though. I get what you mean. I mean, it ain't about sides. I'm just saying, like, I just feel as though it's unfair to judge a character we haven't seen anything of, be it whether you overestimate him or underestimate him. That's all I'm saying. It's not about sides, though.
All right. You knew this was coming. And I personally feel like I'm the perfect person to talk about this.
Are you sure about that?
That's how I personally feel. Because it's going to be unbiased, straight. People are going to see I've had.
Man, I know damn well this ain't about to be unbiased because I know B.D.A. Law and he is biased towards certain characters. Him and King of Lightning, like, they make arguments to kind of confirm their bias. Like, they, like, I know they're like big Shanks fanboys, so they're going to create so much logic just in order to make Shanks the strongest or whatever. I'm gonna continue. Q said, "I am the type to see something before believing their potential." That's good, man. That's good. And I wasn't really trying to. I hope you don't think I was attacking you. I wasn't trying to attack you. I'm just trying to get a point across, And some of your points was kind of actually, helping me put, get my point across, I guess. It's not, bro, it's nothing wrong. Like, if you underestimated Kid, look, I'm not perfect either. I've overestimated characters. I've underestimated them. I'm not perfect either. I'm just saying, I just think it's, I'm not gonna keep beating a dead horse. But yeah, as far as B.D.A. Law, I feel as though unbiased ain't really gonna always the case. So I don't know if he's the best. He's always the best person to talk about certain topics.
Admiral agenda. I'm gonna keep it real on this one, like I normally do. If you're ready to talk about the Yonko and Admirals, drop a like and let's go. Okay, by now I'm sure you read one.
Oh yeah. I think B.D.A. is one of them. Like, I think one of his arguments was like Admirals were pretty much on par with Yonko. I think that's kind of his argument, or it was his argument. I think I've seen him argue that before.
One Piece chapter 1039. Now, I'm being a bit presumptuous, but I'm assuming Big Mom is done. There's a pretty good chance that Big Mom gets up. I mean, she is a monster and she is a Yonko, so there's a pretty good chance that she gets up. But for this video, we're assuming Big Mom does not get up. okay, for this video. Just humor me for a second. Now, assuming Big Mom does not get up, she was defeated by Kid-in-Law in a span of, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes because Onigashima is still, it hasn't hit the island. So going off of that, we're assuming it's been about 15, 20 minutes, something like that. I want to preface this by saying a few things. One, this video is not meant to downplay Kid-in-Law at all, right? I do think they are very impressive. They impressed me. They did a lot more than I thought they would. So this is not meant to downplay them. Two, this is not meant to downplay the Yonko. This is honestly just us assessing where we thought they were, where they are, and where they're going to be. Okay? And let's say three. One way. I'm gonna keep my admiral bias out of it. Okay? Okay?
See?
So did we
I told you.
Overestimate the Yonko? Short answer is yes. There are some things in here that I can't overlook, right? Everybody I've talked to in regards to Yonko versus Admiral, they have the same reference point. Do you know what that reference point is? If you read One Piece, you should know because you're thinking of it. When you think of Yonko versus Admiral, you think of, well,
I don't like where this is going.
there are people that are probably here that don't care about power scaling, but are going to stick around anyway just to see what my argument is. I understand not caring deeply about power scaling, but in a way, in every shonen, if that's your thing, power scaling is going to matter. If it doesn't matter, the show is probably not good, right? To clarify, power scaling is not the #1 reason why we read One Piece, but conflict resolution is typically because of people fighting. So for me and a lot of people, even though power scaling is not the reason why you read One Piece and it shouldn't become toxic like it typically can based on the people you talk to, I would like for the conflict resolution to make sense. That's it. That's it. Of course, we have the top 30s and things like that. That's fun. That's just a lot of fun. And I understand people that don't want to even go there because it is just confusing to all hell. And again, power scaling should never be taken seriously in One Piece. It is just fun because characters are going to be as strong as they need to be. Characters are going to beat who they need to beat. I mentioned this before in a video where it was Stan Lee, the Marvel guy, right? Rest in peace. Where he talked about someone asked him, say something, I swear to God. Someone asked him, someone asked him, right? Who would win between this character and this character? He said, well, obviously who's going to win is who I want to win at the time. That's it. Who I want to win. So for power scaling, initially I was like, well, that's a cop-out. It's a cop-out because you can't establish things within the story, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore. This person's going to win because that person needs to win. And
yeah, I kind of hate that logic as well. I mean, I get it though. I get it. It's like fiction, right? So it's like when you create these stories, you know, at the end of the day, you need you have a journey, right? You have a starting point, you have a journey, and then you have a goal. You know, the all the fights and everything that happened in the story, they're part of the journey. You know, they're part of the journey. But all in all, everything within that journey needs to head towards the goal, right? It needs to head towards the goal. So if you have a goal, that means when you have this journey, you know, there's usually conflict that happens, be it a fight, be it something bad that happens, you know, like let's say character gets stranded on the island, right? So, and it might look like it's an impossible situation, but at the end of the day, in this journey, you need for the character to get off the island. So the character has to do he has to beat the impossible, right? He has to beat the impossible. And he has to get off this island. So maybe that comes in the form of him building a boat. Maybe that comes in the form of somebody coming and saving him. Who knows? You know, it just depends on the writer, you know, how the conflict is solved. And that's not that different from a fight, right? Like sometimes you have a character, they fight somebody where the odds is just so stacked against them that they technically shouldn't come out on top of this fight, that they shouldn't win, right? But the character, the main character, the one who this journey is about, the one who has to get to this end goal, they have to win somehow. Now, and I think, you know, like a lot of times, sometimes if a character is too overwhelmed, that character, you might have another character come along and save him, right? A character who can actually take on this fight, you know, or the character might get help, or the character might just overcome all the odds and win, you know. So it kind of just depends on how you go about it, but you know, at the end of the day, in Wano, the Wano arc, we're just going to assume that Luffy is going to win. He's going to beat Kaido, just like Law and Kid are going to beat Big Mom. And you know, I have certain qualms about it, but it is what it is. It's a story. So let's go. Let's continue the video.
That's partially true, but another part of it is, well, yeah, they can do whatever the hell they want to do. They're the author, right? And in a way, I had to come to terms with that. In One Piece, where it doesn't matter who I think should win, who Oda wants to win is going to win because that person has to win at the time. Even if I felt like Luffy was weaker than Katakuri, Luffy had to win. You just got to chalk it up, say, hey, Luffy's stronger, move on. I don't agree with that, but that's what you got to do. Anyway, did we overestimate
That's how I felt.
Yonko? Going back to the reference point. The reference point that you guys are all thinking of is a subscribe button. Yes! I said I wasn't coming. Let's go. Subscribe to the channel. All right. Subscribe to the channel. Drop a like. Turn on post notifications. Let's go. Now, seriously though, the reference point you guys are all thinking of is Whitebeard versus Akainu, and this will be heavily debated even after One Piece is ended. Probably not after One Piece is ended because we have more context in regards to Admiral and Yonko, but it's going to be heavily debated for a long time because that was the first time these two major powers ever really clashed. Right? There's so many arguments for the Yonko being stronger than the Admirals, and I agree with some of them. And the thing is, I'm not disagreeing with people thinking the Yonko are stronger than Admirals, because I think more often than not, a Yonko will defeat an Admiral. The issue is, people think it is an overwhelming conclusion because of the reference point, Whitebeard versus Akainu. This is the weird part, right? Because depending on who you talk to, Whitebeard is either the strongest Yonko at the time or the weakest Yonko at the time. Whitebeard is either the strongest man in the world or Whitebeard is...
I mean, let me address that, because that is actually a good point that I've seen. Okay. First and foremost, let me say I don't think the gap between Yonko and Admiral is that wide, right? I don't think it's that wide. I think the Admirals are weaker than the Yonko, but it's not like, okay, I would say the Admirals are stronger than the Yonko commanders. Definitely, And I would say they're right below the Yonko, And going off the Whitebeard and Marineford, like I'm of the belief, I've always been of the belief that at this point in time when we was in Marineford, that Whitebeard was not the strongest Yonko. Or he wasn't, I don't think he was the strongest man alive. I don't think he was the strongest Yonko at that point. Now, he might have had one of the strongest devil fruits. I mean, a devil fruit ability is going to be a devil fruit ability regardless of age. But I don't think he was the strongest of the Yonko. I think he might have honestly been the weakest, given the fact that he was old, given the fact that he was dying. I don't think Whitebeard was at all the strongest. So his comparing, and he still fared well against the Admiral. Like, he fought pretty much all three of them at one point. Like at one point he fought all three. Now Kizaru was kind of toying with him. Aokiji, was relatively serious, and I think he did kind of take a little damage from Whitebeard. And then Akainu straight up fought Whitebeard. We got Sneaky Noah King. Welcome to the chat, Sneaky Noah King. He said, I think Whitebeard was the weakest Yonko at that time. He couldn't even use Haki. Well, I don't know if he couldn't use. Well, we didn't see him use Haki, so but I don't know if he couldn't use it. But we didn't see him use it, so I'm not going to fight you on that part. But as far as him being the weakest, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. So I think at one point Whitebeard might have been way stronger than the other Yonko, but I think at this specific point in time, I don't think he was the strongest. So again, I went and kind of used Whitebeard as a measuring stick, But let's continue the video. You said plus his heart attack caused him to get hit and his commanders to get hit. Yeah, bro, if you have a heart attack in the middle of a fight, that's a detriment, bro. Like, that's kind of like when I look at Doflamingo versus Luffy back in Dressrosa. Luffy had that Gear 4 as his ace in the hole, and Gear 4 made him stronger than Doflamingo, but it was a detriment because even after he used it, he didn't put Doflamingo down for good, and it almost cost him. Like it left him vulnerable for Doflamingo to kill him if Luffy didn't have help. But yeah, that his heart attack almost cost him. His heart attack almost cost him. That you can't be having heart attacks in the middle of fights. So that definitely did nerf him, you know. And you said replace Whitebeard with Kaido, he would have done way better, I think. I agree with I think if you replace Whitebeard with any of the other Yonko, they would have done, you know, I'm not gonna say significantly better, but they would have done better. You know what I'm saying? But going back to the Admiral, I think the Admiral I think they're weaker than the Yonko, but just not by much. I don't think it's like a huge gap. You know what I'm saying? I think they're like a tier, like they're one tier under the Yonko. Other than that, yeah. You know, let's continue.
Is the weakest Yonko, could lose to so many people, sick, about to die, not even a challenge. This same man, Kaido never contested him. This same man, Big Mom said even Whitebeard. This same man, the government respected enough to bring everyone out, which, again, me personally, I don't think Whitebeard was the strongest man in the world. However, you had to respect it because you know that power was there. That potential was there. So you had to respect what he was capable of, even though he couldn't consistently tap into that, which is part of getting old. For athletes, once they get older, sometimes you see prime performances. LeBron James, sometimes you see, oh, that looks like prime LeBron, but every single night, he's not gonna give you prime LeBron. He's gonna look sometimes, King of Lightning's favorite thing when we talk about admirals or old people, slow and old. So Whitebeard was slow and old, but there was the potential to tap into that power, that devastating power that he had. So, was Whitebeard the weakest man at Marineford, right? Not the weakest man, but the weakest Yonko? Or was he the strongest man? I think it's somewhere in between. I think Whitebeard would lose to most of the Yonko, but I think if he caught them off guard, tapping into that prime power, he could win. He had that potential, but consistently, no.
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to the Yonko, like, again, you know, Whitebeard being the weakest doesn't mean that it's going to be easy for any. Like if he was to fight any other Yonko, it doesn't guarantee a win for any of the other Yonko if they were to fight Whitebeard, and it doesn't it doesn't by any means make it a easy fight for any of the other Yonko if they were to fight Whitebeard. So yeah, I agree with some of his points there. You know, I think Whitebeard would still be a threat to anybody he fights. I just think, like, again, he was the weakest. Health-wise, it's just too much too much hurting him at this time for him to, like, like, let's say he fought Kaido in if he had like 5 rounds to fight Kaido, he could probably win like 1, maybe 2. You know, I would think he could probably pull out 2, maybe. I think Kaido would win the other 3. You know, if not all 5 of them. You know, but I think Whitebeard could probably sneak a good 1 or 2 out, possibly. So he's still a threat. I just look at him as the weakest Yonko at that time. But that doesn't by any means necessary like say he's going to lose to, like, he's just going to continuously lose to any of the other Yonko. Q said Whitebeard was old and sick, and any of the other Yonko would have done better. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I definitely agree with you guys.
Thing we used to talk about was the Yonko, they can fight for days. We saw Big Mom and Kaido fought for a day, but now we're seeing Big Mom presumably go down in 20 minutes. Whitebeard can last 20 minutes in a fight. So if Big Mom is actually down, it changes some things because it tells me that the Yonko matchup could pretty much be decided in 30 minutes or so. Not to go off on too much of a tangent because we have to wrap this up at some point, the reference point. Let's say Whitebeard is in the middle. Not the strongest man in the world anymore, but certainly not the weakest weakest person that you can easily overwhelm, meaning every admiral beats him. Let's just split the difference. This person at Marineford, let's look at the portrayal. The world government, they brought everyone. Why would they bring everyone for one old sick Yonko? Well, no one had any idea how sick he was. That's the first thing. No one outside of his crew, at least. Secondly, Whitebeard had the greatest fleet, the greatest army, the greatest force in the world, meaning he had the greatest crew in the world. His crew, his army, his force was the greatest. So therefore, the world government.
I kind of disagree with that. But Snowy Noah, sorry, says Sneaky Noah King. I got like my noses stuff. It's hard for me to talk sometimes. I just put Kaido because he is a brawler like him. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Like he brawls like Whitebeard to a degree. Yeah. What was I about to say though? He said something. I mean,
not knowing who was his crew in the world. His crew.
Oh yeah, he said Whitebeard has the strongest crew. I don't know. I don't know about that. I think Whitebeard has the biggest crew. I don't know, because I kind of look at the Yonko each differently, right? I personally think Shanks might have the strongest crew. And why I say that is because he doesn't seem like he have, like, when you look at all the Yonko, it doesn't seem like Shanks has as big of a crew as the other Yonko, right? So I would think that his crew is smaller, but individually, each member of his crew are probably like each strong, like super strong. Like each of them probably are commander level. You know, like he could have a bunch of Ben Backmans on his team, right? Like where all of them are on the same level. You know, as opposed to Whitebeard where he has a bigger crew, but it's kind of a larger spectrum of people. Some of them, you know, you got guys like Marco, then you got like guys who will get beat by like Usopp or something, you know, and then same with Big Mom and possibly Kaido. So, but yeah, I would say, yeah. That's kind of how I would look at it. Like I would look at it as Shanks probably has the overall most well-rounded crew, because to be able to control that much territory with such a small crew, that must mean each guy individually is strong. Unless Shanks got like some crewmates that we haven't seen yet, you know, unless he got some crew members that we just haven't seen yet, then okay, I could be wrong. But I'm just going off of the crew that we've seen Shanks with, right? And it seems like it's a very small crew, a very small, tight-knit crew. So just off of that, I would think that individually Shanks probably has like more powerhouses in his crew that kind of takes up for the lack of the numbers that he has. As with the other Yonko, they have numbers. You know, they have numbers on their team, on their side. So yeah, that's kind of my view on that.
His army, his force was the greatest. So therefore, the world government, not knowing who would ally with Whitebeard, they have to bring out the big guns, because what if another Yonko decided to ally with him? You weren't sure. You have to be careful. And again, it is Whitebeard. And what you think of with Whitebeard is Primebeard being able to destroy the world. So let's assume Primebeard coming in, yes, he is sick, but he can fight for a period of time at his peak performance. The story portrayed, in my opinion, Akainu from the beginning as the strongest admiral. The last one to be revealed, the one in the middle, the one with the personality that showed he was willing to do whatever, that was the portrayal of Akainu. So as the fight is going on, the war is going on, you're already looking at that matchup, Whitebeard versus Akainu, because you're like, I want to see that. You want to see that because those two, even Whitebeard throwing shots, calling him kid, right? Basically blowing out his fire like a birthday cake. It was like, okay, that's the matchup we're going to get. Those are the two guys on the battlefield that maybe...
Yeah, he says that about Akano, but which admiral stood up to Whitebeard and trolled Whitebeard and didn't get any damage on him? That would be Kizaru, baby. That would be Kizaru, baby. I ain't gonna lie, I'm biased to Kizaru, so yeah. But I mean, I could be unbiased to know that, you know, he probably isn't the strongest admiral. I'm not that biased, you know. I think he could potentially be the strongest. Like maybe there's some stuff that, maybe Oda's waiting on the moment to have this big reveal where it's like where like Kizaru is like Aizen or something, when we think, where it's like, dang, we didn't know you was this strong, man. Come on, bro. Sneaky Noah King says, I think it's Shanks. He has top tier commanders, and the world government mentioned he has the most balanced crew, and Ben is comparable to Shanks in strength. It's said that in the Vivre card. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I do think Shanks most likely has the strongest crew because, I think most of his crew are probably like that, like almost on the same level. Like like if you take the weakest person in Shanks' crew, he could potentially be as strong as like a second commander on any other Yonko crew. He could be as strong as like Queen or possibly even King. I also think I don't know. I don't want to put that out there. I don't want to say Ben. I was going to say I think Ben Beckman might be the strongest commander, but I don't know. Part of me bias, my own bias wants to say it wants to say Katakuri because that's my dog. I always like to look at him as the strongest commander, but I don't know. I don't know if I would say Katakuri is the strongest for sure. And then we also got Shiru, right? We also got Shiru, who I think might potentially kill Mihawk. Before Zoro gets a proper one-on-one with Mihawk, Shiru could be that one. And if Shiru does it, I think it will be some underhanded, like sneaky way, like he kills him from behind or something, right? So, like without like Mihawk's busy doing something else, and then Shiru just kind of stabs him or something. But then that would be like, that would kind of debunk my idea that Mihawk has the strongest observation haki. But, I don't know. Maybe Blackbeard crew might jump Mihawk or something with Shiro landing the final blow on Mihawk. But Shiro is another character. I don't know, because I think by the end of the series, Blackbeard might have the strongest crew out of the Yonko by the end of the series. If not at the moment, like when we get to like the end game, when we get that final confrontation with Blackbeard pirates versus the Straw Hat pirates, I think Blackbeard's crew might potentially be the strongest Yonko crew, especially since they're out there hunting for devil fruits. So yeah, that alone probably is giving them advantage over most other crews. Because when you look at Shanks' crew, none of them, as far as we know, have a devil fruit. Shanks could literally have a crew full of non-devil fruit users, and so Blackbeard his crew is full of devil fruit users. So just that alone, I know people look at hockey too, but devil fruits do matter. Let's not act like devil fruits don't give people advantages. And the thing with hockey is devil fruit users can learn hockey as well, and they can master it just as well as non-devil fruit users. So there's that. But let's continue.
Stand above the others. Gotta give respect to Garp and Sengoku, of course, Mihawk. But those are the two guys, right? The adversaries that were gonna go at it. For the most part, when Akainu and Whitebeard fought, it was equal, right? Every blow was matched. Whitebeard came with attacks. Akainu blocked casually with his feet or foot. It felt like it was equal. It was a standoff, an equal standoff. Things started to shift when Whitebeard started to get hurt. Akainu got some hits in, but towards the end, that completely changed Admiral versus Yonko forever. Because what happened was, after Akainu did ace in, Whitebeard, the manga, appeared behind Akainu, the strongest man in the world. Because I think at that time, Whitebeard could tap into Primebeard power, right? Meaning tap into the reserves that he had, so when he was probably enraged, could tap into what Primebeard was showing. Again, he cannot operate like this on a regular basis, but at moments he can tap into that. I believe he tapped into that. And Akainu Akainu got hit from the back. That sounds wild. That's what happened. He got hit from the back by the world's strongest man. Now, something I want to reference here. We had a similar scenario where someone like Odin, who people felt like was stronger than Kaido, got hit with an attack from the world's strongest creature. Probably wasn't that at the time, but a pretty strong individual, and was out cold. Even though we felt like he was stronger, was out cold. Akainu got hit with that and still managed to take off half of Whitebeard's face. So when we look at the anime, it does extend things and it makes Akainu look worse. Not gonna lie, makes him look worse. But in one scenario, an attack like that knocks somebody out. In another, he still manages to gather himself to take half your head off. That's showing you that this person is indeed built different. Because Oda could have easily did it the same way. One hit, he's out. No, he hit him one time. Akainu still staggered, managed to get half his head off, then Whitebeard ended it because he had to for a few reasons. And again, I believe Yonko is stronger than Admirals, but in this scenario, for story and continuity purposes, Whitebeard would look like absolute dog shit if he did not put Akainu down even temporarily. He had no significant scars or wounds after the fact. It seemed like he was fighting pretty all right. He was pretty decent after that but he had to be taken out of the fold because the story had to continue. But that is what changed Whitebeard versus Akainu forever, because people are like, well, Whitebeard old, dead, sick, did that to Akainu, the strongest Admiral. They don't stand a chance. Well, there's so many factors there, right? So it's really difficult to use Marineford because of so many reasons, especially based on story, the moment, Whitebeard, who he was, what had to happen, right? The plans Oda had, that's the best Akainu could look. Now, we can't dismiss what happened. That happened, but factor in the story and everything surrounding it. That's what I do. I think what you have to look at when you talk about Yonko versus Admiral, the beginning of the fight. Even though Whitebeard was old and sick coming into the fight, I believe that's the best he could do at that time in regards to being old, unless he's enraged, right? With the reference point being as muddy and as muggy as it is with Whitebeard and Akainu, the debate is always going to be just muddled forever. But then another part to this is because of how impressive people feel like Whitebeard was at Marineford, the Yonko all had a very tough act to follow. Big Mom, for instance, she had been disrespected up until this point, saying that she was trash. Ranky was able to get over on her. Brooke did decent against her. Look what Whitebeard did.
Man, I'm not even gonna lie, man. The Big Mom disrespect was just out of hand. It was out of hand. Y'all gotta stop with this Big Mom disrespect. I'm telling y'all now, y'all gotta stop that. You know what I mean? I know now she getting that respect because what she been doing, but like ever since Onigashima started, even though she took a few L's, you know, when they the Straw Hats kind of had the combo against her just to get rid of her, but at all they didn't hurt her or nothing, you know. And plus, every L she took in Whole Cake Island, it didn't hurt her. It was always something like, we got to get rid of her. You know, we got to get rid of her, you know. And again, I don't think that's a hard, you know, I don't think that's an impossible feat to get rid of another character, you know, especially if you got a little teamwork going on. It's not an impossible feat. But hurting her is a different story. Beating her in actual combat, that's going to be a different story. And I don't know if she's down after the whole law and kid situation. I don't know if she's down, but I part of me is hoping that she's not down for good, because at least like maybe out of the fight, but not down for good. You know, like not down, not knocked out. I hope, because I feel as though, like he said, like he did say something that does kind of just would make Big Mom look bad. If she was defeated by Law and Kid in 15 minutes, like less than 15 minutes, when, you know, Yonko should be able to fight for days. And which is another reason why I'm kind of against Kaido losing at the moment, right? It's because it's like we see these characters who's supposed to fight for days. It's like they're getting beat in a day, you know what I mean? By lesser characters, right? Characters who aren't even as strong as them at the moment, you know? I mean, I know there's other things to consider as well, though. You know, like I'm not one of these people that's going to say, you know, if Kaido gets beat, it's going to look bad because he got beat within a day. I mean, he did, but he's also been fighting a lot of people at this point. You know, it's like he been getting jumped most of the time. He been getting jumped most of the time. Like him and Luffy is like the first time he really got like a 1v1 against, like Luffy got a 1v1 on Kaido. I mean, Kaido did get that 1v1 with Yamato, and Yamato's pretty strong, you know. But even Yamato like lost. Like it got to a point where Yamato couldn't go no more, you know. So, you know, gotta consider those things. But let's continue.
Against admirals, vice admirals, and Big Mom can't get past the. Well, if we saw Whitebeard in different scenarios, the same thing would happen. There would be people that would get over on him. We'd be like, what's going on? Because this is just how things are. How many times do we see in story, in real life, where somebody who we feel like is stronger, is better, someone gets over on them? Look at Luffy. Luffy is a monster. Caesar got him, Monet got him, Gazelle Man got him, Speed got him. When I say got him, not all of them beat him, but they got one over on him. So the reference point is muddled, right? It's foggy based on story and continuity, where a lot of people look at it. Whitebeard dominated Akainu, right? You gotta look at the story to see exactly everything that went on there. To be honest, Akainu should get credited for that kill, but then the other Yonko, you gotta follow that. Whitebeard, who's about to die, who has to guard in a great way because his son just died. So for the story, Whitebeard has to go out on top, even though he just suffered massive L's, right? Came to Marineford, had to retreat, Blackbeard betrayed him, Thatch is dead, Ace is dead. How do you solidify this man as a great pirate, a great person? You let him sacrifice himself. You cannot have him lose to an admiral here. It just can't happen. Again, so let's move on from Whitebeard versus Akainu for now. Now, for Yonko going forward, they have to live up to that. And so from that reference point, we have this crazy expectation of the Yonko. So then going to every interaction, we think about Law talking about Kaido, saying it's a 30% chance to beat him. Like, okay, damn, that's kind of crazy. Then we go to Dressrosa, Fujitora, and Doflamingo. Doflamingo attacked Fujitora. He was shaking because of Kaido. It's like, well, we have to factor in Doflamingo's connection to the world government. He wasn't scared of the world government. He was a celestial dragon. He knew Fujitora couldn't do anything to him. So every single scenario, the Yonko has been portrayed in a different way. Then we go to other scenarios. When Kaido got stabbed by the scabbards, so many people started to slander him, saying that, wow, Kaido, the invincible man, invincible creature, is getting stabbed by Kiku. How? So off of that, the expectation you had for this character completely drops, because you're like, wait, how is that possible? So many, you can go back. So many people were saying that. I was like, wait, slow down. Perception versus reality, okay? Whitebeard was an example of that. Shanks was an example of that. Kaido and Big Mom will be examples of that. They will not be what you expect them to be, because legends in One Piece are...
Yeah, I get it, because I remember I remember seeing that when the scabbards cut through Kaido. And one thing I looked at it is like, you know, because they're carrying old, because when you look at the story, right, when you really dig into the story, inherited will is a very strong theme, you know, like carrying on somebody's will. And one of the best examples that we got, like in the recent story, are the Red Scabbards, right? They're the Red Scabbards. They carry on Odin's will, and in that instance, it was almost as if Odin himself was attacking Kaido, right? That's how strong their resolve it was in that attack during Kaido. And even then, it's like Kaido got back up and he's still up. He's still been fighting ever since then. So it's like, did they really do anything to him? I mean, like looking back at it now, like at the time, I get it. At the time, it's like, oh man, these scabbards, man, they done cut Kaido. It's like, but now it's like I didn't take it that serious, because I was like, I don't, you know, like Kaido still has to fight Luffy. You know, they're not gonna put Kaido down. Come on now, Luffy still has to. If anybody has to be the one to beat Kaido, it's gonna be Luffy with the help of Law and Kid. Like that's what I was thinking at that moment. So I was like, this ain't gonna really. This to me, it was just a moment. Like it was gonna be a moment. Like when it was happening, I looked at it as a moment that's just going to showcase Kaido's toughness. And at the end of the day, that's pretty much what it did. It showcased his durability and the fact that he could get a cut, he could get a wound, and he could just get right back up and keep fighting. And it just takes a lot to really get him, like, to keep him down for good. And ever since then, he's been fighting, right? He's been fighting. But yeah, so, you know, you just got, you know, I know Oda likes to hit you with moments where it's kind of like, what? And that was kind of like one of the moments. That's how I seen it.
Are typically greater than they really are, because you don't have full context. I love how Oda writes, and this is what makes talking about One Piece, even outside of power scaling, it's amazing. Because sometimes Oda writes like he's not writing the story. Like, Brock, what the hell are you talking about? Well, Oda writes sometimes like if what he's putting on the page is a rumor. People say this is what happened. words. People say this is what's happening. Even though the author is writing it like he doesn't even know yet. So you have to take it with a grain of salt even when people say something, because other people probably said it that could be debunked. If we had no context about Whole Cake Island, and all we got was Big News Morgan saying what he said, putting it in the newspaper, right? Say we went to Wano early, and Whole Cake Island was off-screened. All we got was Luffy defeated Katakuri, Luffy defeated Crocker, and Luffy got out of Big Mom's territory without any casualties other than Pedro. And then in fine print, Pedro blew up himself, right? Just to clarify things a little bit. We'd be like, holy shit. Luffy, after Doflamingo, leveled up considerably. It would completely warp our mind coming into Wano. We'd be like, Luffy's ready for Yonko. What? He beat 2 commanders in Whole Cake. He's ready. But then we have context. A lot of things in One Piece, we don't have context. Once we get context, it changes everything. Look at Odin versus Kaido. Without context, we're like, well, that's Kaido. That's what Kaido does. World's strongest creature, bro. We get context. We're like, hold up. Odin could have won. So, to get out of here, because we've been going on for a long time, did we overestimate the Yonko? Yes and no. I think based on what we were told and what we saw at Marineford, honestly, we had the Yonko at the appropriate level, appropriate tier. They were clearly established as the strongest, no question about it. However, the admirals kept slipping because we kept going back to that reference point. Even though Oda is telling us in the story, this is the Navy's greatest fighting force. These are the strongest fighters the Navy has. And people always say, well, if the Navy had these strong people, why wouldn't they go and take over? Well, the Yonko are keeping the peace for them. They're keeping the balance. And technically, the Navy, they already control the One Piece world. They do. You have to knock them off their perch to be in control. Yes, they let the Yonko have their own territories, control their parts of the new world, but that's because the Yonko essentially, because they're in a stalemate, they also stop younger generations, younger potential strong pirates from disrupting this ecosystem. Well, if the Marines are that strong, why would they need warlords? Well, one thing about the Yonko, right? It's never just about the Yonko, ever. If it's just about individual Yonko, if it's just them, they'll be wiped out a lot sooner. But that's not what makes you a Yonko. Territories, people under you, influence. For you to get to that level, it's so many people.
Thank you. He said something that I've constantly been saying, right? Because people always look at a situation, they be like, oh, well, he's not a Yonko. So, like, just because you're not especially when, I talk about Shanks, right? Like, Shanks can't be as strong as, or not Shanks, Mihawk. When I talk about Mihawk, it's like, I've seen people say Mihawk can't be as strong as Shanks because Mihawk's not a Yonko. Now, and I always go to this argument. What is a Yonko? What makes a Yonko? It's not solely power. It's not solely strength, right? It's not solely how powerful you are. Now, that's one thing. That's probably one of the most important things you need as a Yonko. You need your own individual strength. But what else makes it? You got to have a strong crew, right? You have to have territory. You need territory. And you need a strong crew in order to help you manage this territory so you could keep, because you could be a strong character, but if you don't have a strong crew, it's going to be dang near impossible to manage to supervise a bunch of islands by yourself. Like, you have to go to each individual island to go to go stop a insurrection or whatever's happening, and it's hard. Like, that'd be impossible. So when you look at Yonko, they're individually strong, yes. They also have strong crews. They also have territory. Emperor, a Yonko is it's 4 emperors. 4 emperors, Yonko, 4 emperors. So an emperor needs an empire. Someone like Mihawk, someone like Mihawk doesn't have the ambition to be, like, you also have to have ambition to a degree. You got to be like, you know what? I want to be a Yonko, or I want to have this territory. I want to do this, right? Mihawk's goal is to be the greatest swordsman, the best swordsman. That's pretty much what it seemed like. His only purpose in life is to be the best swordsman and to hold that title. Look for people who can challenge him, so he can prove that title. And then he doesn't have any territory other than his specific island, and people don't go messing with him on his island. And then he doesn't have a crew. He doesn't have. I mean, unless you want to consider them monkeys, but they're not like. I wouldn't. That's not a crew though. They're not like smart enough to, like they're just fighting. They're fighting monkeys, right? or baboons or whatever they are. So yeah. So with characters like me, you could be on a Yonko level and not be Yonko, right? And it's not just necessarily Mihawk. There's probably other characters in the world who like strength wise could be a Yonko if they had the crew and the territory, but they don't. Like Rayleigh possibly. I don't know if I would count Rayleigh because he's not in his prime no more. I don't know how. I'm sure he still is strong. He was strong enough to hold off Kizaru, but again, I don't think either. Like Kizaru wasn't trying to fight Rayleigh, and Rayleigh only purpose was to hold off Kizaru. It wasn't like a serious battle among them two. But still, maybe Rayleigh is possibly at that level. There could be other characters in the world that could potentially be on that level. But it's just you gotta, it's certain factors that make a Yonko, and one of them is the territory you got. Second one is a powerful crew to make sure you hold on to that territory. But yeah, but being a Yonko in itself doesn't mean there aren't other strong characters who can challenge you or anything. It doesn't mean that there are other characters who don't hold the title of Yonko aren't Yonko level, right? Yonko is just a title. It's a title for someone who's looked at as a emperor of the sea. So there's that. Let's continue.
You had to have follow you and put you there. And so when you fight Big Mom, you're not just fighting Big Mom. You're fighting Big Mom, Katakuri, Cracker, Smoothie, Daifuku, Oven, Tamago, Montdor. Who the hell knows what Compote can do? You're fighting Big Mom along with some very strong fighters under her. So if Big Mom pulls up to Marineford, Big Mom is a monster on her own. Let's say she's above every other admiral. And the admirals are in between her commanders. It's already a tough fight because you have Big Mom and you have several strong commander level fighters. That's a lot. Whitebeard pulls up. You have Ace, Josu, Marco, Thatch, if Blackbeard stayed, Vista, and all the other commanders he had. It's a lot. So for the Warlords, it's to balance out the fact that, okay, we have the admirals, we have vice admirals, but we can't account for all the strong people that would follow these Yonko. Because there's some considerably strong people out there. They're like, what are you talking about? They're not the strong people just sitting around. Well, look at Green Bull and Fujitora. They come out of nowhere. Blackbeard got Shiryu from Impo down and the level 6 prisoners. There are a lot of strong people out there. So for the Warlords, if not anything, they're insurance. They help balance it out where they're more deterrents. Where, okay, the Warlords help influence the Yonko because the Warlords also have people that would follow them, right? So for the world government, it's always about sureties, doubling down. We want sure victories. We want as least casualties as possible, depending on the scenario, because O'Hara, we want to make sure, we want overwhelming power. Even if they didn't need the Warlords, the influence that those pirates bring, Doflamingo, Boa Hancock, Mihawk. If you're a Yonko and you're thinking about it, you're like, we gotta deal with those guys. If you live in the US, you understand that the US has the greatest military in the world. Yet they still every single year spending billions to keep it going. You're like, wait, why do you keep, you already won. Not literally, but you have this army. Why are you still funding it? Well, you want to retain that power. You want to keep it. You want to keep up this, at least the front, that if you guys try to contest us, you will get wiped out and eliminated. So I say all that to say that the Yonko, based on how they portrayed, we did not overestimate them. They are who we thought they were, I think. It's just that everyone else is not that far behind as we thought. I think we underestimated everyone else, not overestimated the Yonko. The Yonko, they are monsters. Law and Kid, they're just fucking strong. Stronger than we thought. Stronger than I thought. Shit. Especially after just Rosa. I mean, I knew Law was strong, but if you told me he had Puncture Willie in his pocket, I'd have been like, give me your ring. I'm saying. But y'all, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like we overestimated the Yonko? I don't think so. I think they're legit. But give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BrogDAs. Follow me on Instagram, BrogD.Ace. Thank you for our patrons. What? Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much again, guys. Be sure.
All right. That's it for that. As far as what he said, then I agree. I agree. I don't think we overestimated the Yonko. I think the Yonko are placed where they at. I think it's just people probably. I think a lot of people underestimated like other characters, right? And I mean, as far as the supernova, I do believe. Like I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not one to complain or anything. But I do think Oda kind of put himself into a situation. Like I think he kind of wrote himself into a situation to where it was like it was at this point it was hard to give Luffy a realistic power up, like or not power up, a realistic power progression. You know. Now I feel as though if there was a arc between Whole Cake Island and Wano, that arc could have been that to fill that gap of the that progression, right? That Luffy struggling with Katakuri and taking like 11 hours to beat Katakuri and still have that asterisk on it on that victory, to him going up against Kaido and realistically beating Kaido. I think if there was an arc between Wano and Whole Cake Island, that arc could have addressed that power progression issue that I believe, because I think that's my only issue with everything. It's the power progression of especially of Luffy. You know what I'm saying? Like he did have that training time. Like it's like during the whole Wano arc, he did have. I think it's been like over a month. I think since they got the Wano. Like so he trained in Udon for a while, and they was preparing for this war. So there was some time. The only training we seen was in Udon. That was the only, I guess, power progression. Like I feel as though Oda knew that he needed some way to give Luffy a realistic power progression. So I think that what Udon was for. I I guess I can kind of accept that, but I would think maybe another arc would have probably done it more justice. Maybe find like a character who's also Yonko Commander level, maybe. If not, maybe a little stronger than a Yonko Commander, and then have but not as strong as a Yonko, and then have Luffy beat him. Have him pretty much rise to the occasion to beat that character. I think that possibly could have helped, you know what I'm saying? And then when he got the Wano, we could have still done like a little maybe mini training arc, I guess. And then cool. I wouldn't think it's as unrealistic for Luffy to beat Kaido as I kind of currently do. That's probably my biggest issue with Luffy winning against Kaido. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would have helped, even though another arc would have probably, people probably would have got mad because people was itching to go to Wano at this point. Like, people, I think what hurt Whole Cake Island, what hurt that arc was people was more, they was in a rush to get to Wano. People wanted Wano. They didn't want Whole Cake Island. They wanted Wano. After Dressrosa ended, people wanted to go to Wano. We got Zoe. Zoe was a short arc, but people wanted Wano. And then we had a whole rescue mission for Sanji going to Whole Cake Island, and I don't think people really like that, because I personally think Whole Cake Island was a good arc. I think it was, at that time, it was probably the best arc of the time skip, after time skip. Because I think it was better than Dressrosa. The pacing, even though the pacing wasn't that great in Whole Cake Island either, I think it was better paced than Dressrosa. Because Dressrosa is still a longer arc than Whole Cake Island. And I think it was better than what's it called, Fishman Island. I also think it was better. I also think it was better than Punk Hazard. Like Fishman Island probably been the worst arc. Well, I mean, me personally, I'll probably say Dressrosa because the pacing, but just like being without the issue of the pacing, I would say Fishman Island probably been the worst arc since the time skip, with Punk Hazard being the second. But, you know, with the pacing, Dressrosa to me is probably the worst for me. It was a good arc. It was just the pacing was just, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. But yeah. But I think Whole Cake Island was probably the best arc. Okay, Sabaody, the return of Sabaody, that was a good arc as well. That was a good arc as well. So I would say, if I had to off the top rank my favorite arcs of the post time skip, if I off the top, not including Wano because it's not finished, because I think so far Wano is the best, but I'm not gonna want to include it because anything could happen that anything that could either hurt Wano or help it, make it even better, can happen at this point. So I'm not going to include Wano until it's finished. But if I had to rate each arc, it would be Whole Cake Island, Zoe, Sabaody. Taking away the pacing, taking away the anime, just talking quality of the storytelling of the arc, Dressrosa, Punk Hazard, and then Fishman Island. Those would be how I rank the post time skip. But yeah, okay. But that's pretty much the stream. You guys, the link will be in the description box. I might have to I'm gonna go check to make sure it's right and update it if need be. It should be right, but I'm not sure. Make sure y'all show your boy some love and like the stream. I talk, I'm up here talking and discussing these things. Just give your boy a like. And hit that, and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. It's not too late to be a part of the giveaway that I will be doing for the 50 subscriber milestone. All you have to do is subscribe and stay tuned this Sunday for my next chapter stream, because I will be giving the details somewhere in the middle of that stream. Not in the beginning, not at the end, somewhere in the middle. So y'all make sure y'all watch the stream. Either watch it live or watch it after. So I give you guys the details of what is going to go on, how this giveaway is going to happen. Also follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. If you're looking for a One Piece community to be a part of, we have the One Piece Facebook group and the One Piece Discord. Everything's linked in the description, y'all. Everything's linked in the description. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got. It's your boy Sean P, the Bluff Guy. Hey! And yeah, we'll be doing something tomorrow. I'm not too sure yet. If you guys want to send me videos, you can, again, go to one of my social medias or go to the Discord, message me on Discord. Send me videos, send me content to react to. Anyway, I'm out.